Good afternoon, distinguished guests, members of the faculty, and my dear friends. Welcome to the third day of Conventus 2024, the annual management conclave of International Management Institute, New Delhi. The world of work is rapidly evolving, and one of the most significant changes is the rise of gig economy. Like India's 7 trillion ambition, the gig economy represents a transformative opportunity for growth, innovation, and inclusivity. On this note, we proudly present the Gig Economy Growth Summit, a vital step in understanding how gig work will empower India's workforce and economy.
My fellow compare Jay and I, Vanshika, will guide you through the Gig Economy Growth Summit of Conventus 2024. This year, we focus on the theme Harnessing the Gig Economy, empowering India's workforce for its 7 trillion ambition. India's gig economy is on a growth trajectory, expanding from 7.7 million workers in 2021 to an estimated 23.5 million by 2030. This remarkable growth, driven by the demand for flexible work, has the potential to significantly impact India's economy. However, challenges persist, particularly in terms of inclusivity. For instance, 79% of Indian women remain economically inactive, and over half of the job seekers are not actively searching for employment.
The theme, Harnessing the Gig Economy, emphasizes the opportunity for businesses to engage these unrepresented demographics through innovative gig models. By fostering skill development and creating more awareness of the benefits of gig work, companies can drive inclusion and participation. Furthermore, enhanced digital infrastructure like 5G and fintech solutions will connect workers with opportunities bridging gaps between talent and demand.
In essence, India's gig economy presents a pathway to addressing labor market challenges and fostering economic participation. As India moves towards its 7 trillion ambition, it must ensure that the gig economy is inclusive, leveraging the talents of its vast, diverse workforce to achieve this ambitious goal. Before we proceed, we would like to play the Conventus 2024 theme video.
A nation like no other, with people of unlimited potential, is on the brink of unprecedented glory. The story of India is one of ups and downs, of navigating challenges and managing conflicts, of finding harmony amidst chaos. Now, the stage is set. India has dared to dream, a dream of becoming a $7 trillion economy.
The unstoppable force behind this long journey has been the people of the country. The next chapter in India's history will be marked by
GDP, growth driven by people. The people are the engines of our economy. The key to success for businesses is to convert their potential into purpose. When human resources are empowered and engaged, real value is unlocked and dreams are turned into reality.
It's time to explore the best practices of the businesses that have made a mark by being of the people, for the people, by the people. So, let us be all ears for their stories and ideas and learn from their rich experiences.
The gig economy holds the promise of transforming India's labor landscape, but it requires visionary leadership to guide its evolution. We are privileged to have a panel of distinguished leaders with us to share their delights. Now, I request our moderator, Dr. Swati Tripathi, to hand over the token of appreciation to our first speaker, Dr. Lalit Kanodia. Dr. Kanodia is the Vice President Hospitals and Corporate at Tata 1mg. With over 15 years of experience in business strategy and digital innovation in healthcare. He has held key roles at Apollo 24/7 and KPMG, advancing healthcare access through technology. His insights on the gig economy's role in healthcare sector are invaluable. Sir, it's a privilege to have you with us today.
Moving forward, we welcome our next speaker, Mr. Vineet Tandon. We request Swati ma'am to hand over the token of appreciation to Sir. Sir is Director Global Talent Marketing at HCL Tech with over 20 years of global marketing and leadership experience. He's also LinkedIn top voice with being India's first musical motivational speaker. His expertise in working with people and brands offer insights into gig solutions, driving organizational resilience and growth. Sir, we feel privileged to have with you.
Now, we request ma'am to welcome our next speaker, Mr. Mohit Chavan, with a token of appreciation. Sir is a senior product marketing manager at Naukri.com, a seasoned leader in marketing with 10 plus years of experience driving growth and brand mandate across businesses. At Naukri, Sir leads product marketing for DoSelect, crafting strategies that fuel data-driven hiring solutions. His strong strategic marketing background includes brand work at Hotologics for APAC and collaboration with brands like Maruti Suzuki and Infosys via creative agencies in the past. He offers valuable insights into workforce trends and the gig economy, highlighting new opportunity for talent engagement and growth. Sir, we look forward for your valuable inputs.
Now, we request ma'am to hand over the token of appreciation to our next speaker, Mr. Pradeep Singh. Sir is Executive Vice President at ITC Classic Golf and Country Club. With nearly 30 years of experience in HR, industrial relations, and leadership, he has been instrumental in positioning the club as a top hospitality destination. Having expertise in team building, strategic planning, and administration, his insights on gig economy in the hospitality sector are invaluable. Sir, we are honored to have you with us today.
Moving forward, we welcome our next speaker, Mr. Rohit Kapoor. We request ma'am to hand over the token of appreciation to Sir. Sir is the founder and creative director of VFlux Studios. Mr. Kapoor has positioned VFlux Studios as a leader in digital innovation, specializing in virtual reality and advanced visualization. He fosters a collaborative and talent-driven environment with expertise in business development and leadership, driving innovation and redefining visual storytelling. We look forward for your valuable input, sir.
Now, we request ma'am to welcome our last speaker, Mr. Pankaj Java, with a token of appreciation. Sir is Executive Vice President at Rockwell Industries Limited, heading channel sales for commercial refrigeration and deep expertise in B2B sales and strategy. He is known for his people-centered leadership. We look forward to his insights on the impact of flexible work in development and strategy and its contribution in the India's economic growth. Sir, it's a pleasure to have you with us today.
We would now like to invite the Secretary of Residential Affairs Committee, Ms. Purva Singhal, to honor our moderator, Dr. Swati Tripathi, with the token of appreciation. Dr. Tripathi brings extensive experience from academia and industry with a strong background in teaching, research and consultancy. Known for her employee-centric approach to organizational behavior, her research includes numerous publications in esteemed international journals. Her commitment to student growth and lifelong learning reflects her dedication to continuous improvement. We are honored to have her lead this session with unique insights and expertise. Thank you, ma'am, for being here.
Now, we would like to play our sub-theme video. Harnessing the gig economy is about unlocking the potential of flexible work arrangements to empower millions of workers. Disruption in the form of rapid technological advancements and changing workforce dynamics can serve as a catalyst for growth. enhanced digital infrastructure, particularly 5G and fintech solutions, will connect workers to opportunities and build a more inclusive economy. I now invite Professor Tripathi to take over the moderator for today's summit.
Good afternoon, everyone. There has been some delay. All of you must be tired. Third session of the day. As classes also go, I get the mood. But this video has set the pace for the session. It was an exciting video. And with that, let me start by saying you will enter a workforce that is changing its face, changing its looks slowly. With gig economy in taking the place in conversations, you will be part of a very different kind of a workforce that has some independence, autonomy, words that we generally do not associate with working, or an employee. Today, companies have to sort of adapt all of these, words and put them into their practices, put them into their policies, so they can get the best talent, best skill set out there. And with that, let me open this by asking all of you a question. As in our previous conversations, we were having some trouble establishing who a gig worker is and who would be included in the gig economy and as a gig worker. And as the video also showed, I think we skipped a few some demographic right there. So what is gig economy and how are we part of it? Anybody can take up this, whoever.
Thank you. So let me start. While gig economy, as we've been speaking about, we had the prior discussion also. The video speaks about Uber, Zomato, Swiggy, of course. There are two facets, as I was mentioning. One is a pool which opts for gig economy because of its own specialized talent and technical capabilities. And second is a part of gig economy, which is maybe a transformed labor come less in technical aspect, less skilled workforce, which may be a lot of riders we look across the street nowadays. And these two formulate the gig economy in a different aspect. I think we must look at these two slightly differently because the nature of the work they possess, the demand in the industry, with the forthcoming technological challenges and advances with respect to the various industries they actually operate into are different, right? Their concerns are different, their aspirations are different. There is one part where is a Gen Z dominated economy, which may be a part of the gig workforce. There is one part which is essentially gig economy by choice, gig working by choice, gig economy because the person possesses a talent beyond the natural expertise. So for me, gig economy has these two components and facets. I'll request people to contribute. Thank you.
Hello? Yes. So, as you rightly bifurcated the two personas, right? One is by intent, another is because of lack of choice. I'm just going to give you a different spin-off because I come from a business which was acquired by Naukri. It's called DoSelect, which I'm currently heading. Exactly operates into the space of turning organization into skill first, isn't it? So although larger organizations are having this debate, but the general shift driven by Gen Z is that I want to be paid for the capabilities I bring in. Isn't it? Not because of purely the time value that I'm providing. So that to me is gig economy, is about specialized services, niche services, and also very modulated work environments where I provide 3 hours, or that is one case. And the second case is I provide a certain outcome on a project-based engagement. It could be freelance, it could be part-time, it could be consultancy. These are all models we generally call it gig economy. Now, tying back to this topic of driving into a 7 trillion economy, right? 3.5 to 7 is not a straight ask, right? You're asking India's GDP to double straight. So it is not going to be just by gig, to be honest. It is going to be completely building an ecosystem, which is what, if you notice, going back to Naukri.com, which has stopped from being a job portal to becoming building a complete talent ecosystem now. The recent acquisitions like DoSelect, the ATS like Zoem, the Ambition Box, which is your rating system, right? What we're trying to build is a stitch together a life cycle of entire talent's employment life cycle, where there is identification of skill, diversification of which roles they go into, what kind of role is suitable for them, building a skill inventory, what we call it, and again deploying them in projects where they can do better and they see a career trajectory in the line of expertise, and so on and so forth. So that to me, from a corporate sense, is a gig economy, which organizations with larger workforce being Gen Z, that we cannot avoid this debate forever. This is going to be a part of our discussion on, and I see most of the mid-segment and smaller organizations actually opting for project-based engagements versus a full-time. So I think that's my assessment of this topic. I will, if there's anyone who wants to add, I can pass on. Yes.
We are discussing a very important topic, of course, moving from whatever that size is to, 7 trillion. One question to all of you. How many of you would want to become gig workers? MBA किया है, full-time placement चाहिए, right? So we are not operating in vacuum. Let's understand this. As much as companies need to bring a shift in their hiring practices, as much as has to be the shift from all of you. If we consider ये तो छोटे लोगों का काम है, gig is not just about delivering food. It's also about writing code for a project in AI and ML, provided you have that expertise to do it, right? So tagging this that it's a low value skill, low value job is not the right thing. Of course, we'll cover this more in the discussion, but the point of the matter is this is not a theoretical discussion. The workplace of the future will change. You will not have so many full-time jobs as our generation saw and our parents saw. And therefore, with that shift happening, it's better that you acclimatize yourself not just with theoretical concept ki what is gig economy, but how are the roles of the future going to change for you. You may be hitting into placements this year or next year, but every year you will see, scary statistics around placements, right? And therefore, the emphasis is moving from having that piece of degree, which I still believe is equally important, to having the skill which will put money into your bank account month after the month. So
excuse me. When we are talking about the gig worker, as you said, so the one picture is coming. Okay, gig worker is only the workman is a gig worker, though, who is delivering the material, who is running a Ola, who is running the Uber, or supplying some Amazon or the what you call the big basket delivery boys, Zomato delivery boys. It's not like that. If you ask me, I'll prefer to become a gig worker. I'll give my expertise for a certain hours, and I'll charge for a hell of amount for that hours only. Instead of working 8 hours, I'll prefer to work only 2 hours. So you people have to develop your skill, and then you can work as a gig worker. Then you can definitely, as you said, we and our producers, we got a regular job. Now the people are getting the contract job. We will give you the contract, you complete this project and take this money. Project basis, my wife is doing some job for a Chinese companies, for a Russian, Oppo and Vivo. She is charging for 3-4 days 10 lakh rupees, giving some advice. She is law graduate. So what you will say? She is not practicing. She is running a firm. She is working for only twice, thrice in a week. Just giving an idea sitting at home. That is also she is working as a gig worker. So being a gig worker, don't think you are a bike लोगे और उस पे सवेरे सामान लेके जाओगे. Sir, this is your material. No, not like that.
So I
Which
think
area you are working, develop your skill in that area, and work like that. That's my opinion.
did you see hi all. Did you see how bias works? Why I am saying this? The video you played aligned our thoughts to gig economy to link it with certain sort of work. Is that all what you think about it? Actually, no. So that is where we need a mind shift in the entire thought process of the young generation of future. I'll tell you my example. I am a full-time employee. But at most of the times at my age, I'm sure many people in my age would also like to think that why not leave my job and give consultancy to companies with my skill set and add value to myself, learn myself something, and give my talent pool or whatever knowledge I have gained over the last 25 years to the companies which do not know how to do that work. You would be the most sought after person if there are very few people like you who have been able to show something to the world that they can do it in a different way. And the best, you are the best in the industry. So now coming back to the gig work, in my understanding, any mainstream economy will paralyze or cripple without a parallel gig economy. It is a support function to your mainstream organization, and it is an added resource, I would call it, which adds value to things which the company may not know how to do, and they will hire people, they will hire upskilled manforce which otherwise they cannot afford. I would call it that way. The gig economy, like everybody said, is not what we just saw in this video. The gig economy is a specialized person who has developed or nurtured his skill set to a level wherein he is the most sought after person in the world. So for me, any creative person who's making a painting which is only he can make, and then he's selling it to an maybe a art gallery or so, he's also a gig worker. It's just the way how you look at it, and that is where we are talking about the gig economy. That is how it is going to grow. It is just that technology is helping the gig economy get organized, get consolidated. Each and every individual can reach out to the entire universe with his talent, and that is where the gig economy is getting consolidated. It was always there. Gig contract work, gig economy, it always used to exist in our own space. It is just that now we've given a term to it. So that is how I feel about gig economy, and it's high time that we acknowledge and accept this as a mainstream economy, parallelly functioning with the full-time workforce.
This brings me to my next question, and this next question is specifically for Mr. Pradeep. Why should companies hire, gig workers or contract workers? What is in it for a company to do that? What benefits would companies enjoy?
The benefit to the company is they need not to take a regular employment. On project basis, they need not to pay salary like they are paying to the regular employment. This is the one aspect. But a second aspect, there is a two type of advocate. One is practicing in a court and full time he is spending there, and one is giving the idea for 3 hours and he is charging hell of amount. When we are having some case, we are going to take some opinion from the different advocates, but they are not fighting in a court. We are hiring another advocate to fight in a court. That is a one aspect. Benefit to the individual also is there if he is expert in that area. But my question was, your question was, what benefit to the company? Company benefit is they are getting the good skill. They are getting as required. Gig workers need not, there is no liability on a company to hire and fire. Today they hired some people and they are not fit in their job. They can change them. They need not, there is no liability. These are the main things.
So to add to what Pradeep ji said, as a company, gig economy adds a lot of economic sense for any organization. Like I said, there is a particular amount of activity which any company wants to do, and the scale which that company wants to build, they may not be able to do it with the current workforce which they are currently employing. They may not have those resources available at hand, and the kind of money they want to spend and the output they are deserving, the scale of that operation utilizing this gig economy can make a lot of business sense for any company, to that matter, to extend or expand their reach in the market, like I said, to make them aware, to make their presence felt in the market with that amount of money being spent. See, I want to hire 10 full-time employees. My work is such that it's a seasonal business. being into a particular kind of industry, you will know that my business will work only for 8 months in a year, and balance 4 months when we are freezing cold, nobody wants to look at an air conditioner or a refrigeration product. So does it make sense for me to hire 50 people in those 8 months, pay them heavily, which I generally pay to for 12 months, and utilize their skill set and expand my base in those 8 months with those additional workforce? That is how companies utilize this gig work, and it is obviously to the choice of the person who's opting to do it for the company. He may also be in a situation that he's not wanting to dedicate the entire 12 months to any company. He wants to experiment. He wants to understand whether it is good for me to be in this field or not. There are hundreds of fields today which are coming up. There is a air conditioning company, there is an automobile company, there is an IT software sales company. I do not know where my skill set will fit into. I can experiment. I can experiment with different fields, and then I can understand what am I good at. And then I can exploit that potential and then take up a career future.
Excuse me, again. There is a best example of the sugar mills. If you people know about the sugar mill, they work only 6 months, during the season only, when this crop comes, sugar cane. And after 6 months, almost their centers are closed. They are not any purchasing. Even the chini mills sugar mills are closed. So their business is a 6 months, and it's ancient, but running more than 100 years. So even before freedom, there was a employment of the gig worker. We can't say that today suddenly this word came, gig worker, and today suddenly the Uber, Ola and Zomato started these things. No. Today the government is focusing on that. If you people read about that, the government was trying to make, the government made some labor code 2020. It's still not implemented because of the rules has to made by the state governments. In that they clearly specified the gig worker. Gig worker is a hire and fire. You can hire any skill, and you can, if he is not performing, you can ask him to leave. So there are something. Gig worker. All companies, I am working with a golf course. Weekday, few people are coming to play. Weekend, maximum people are coming to play. Weekend, we required some more caddy to cater those members. We are hiring since 30 years. Automotive sectors, regular people, as you said, my colleague said, regular people, they are getting the high salary, benefit to the company. They are getting the high salary, but not performing as required by the company. So what companies are doing? They are taking the gig workers to perform well in comparison to those regular workers, those they are paying to higher salaries. That's why it's got enhanced to. That is the benefits. Plus liabilities are lesser. You need not to take more liabilities. Like every year negotiation, tripartite agreement or bipartite agreement, revision of salary. Gig worker revision is as per the government notification. Maximum companies are doing. The government notification is coming. Like in Delhi, recently notification came that their minimum wage, skilled nature workman minimum wage should be the 18,000. So I think the gig worker must be getting 18,000 only. And the regular worker, because he is a unionized, he is the old one, he must be getting the 40,000-50,000 and working less than the gig workers. This is the benefit to the company, hiring gig worker in comparison to the regular worker. Thank you.
Anyone wants to add, or I should add one more? You want to add, please?
I can add one. I'll just add on to what I mentioned earlier, is that give you a real world example. Let's say I want to expand my business to US, okay? And I'm looking at, let's say you compare it with hiring someone who specializes versus looking for an agency or a consultant who specializes in B2B, in SaaS, which is software as a service category, operating in US market. What are the odds of me getting a full-time employee who specializes in driving revenue opportunity for there versus me looking out for agencies who do specific services, who bring in specific specialization into this and driving that outcome? So I think one of the odds that will play out in favor of gig economy is the diversity of the pool and the vastness of choices you will have without showing any commitment, and they are project based, isn't it? Yeah.
just to build on that, I'll give specific example of my organization. I'm into B2B arrangements and engagements with multiple corporates and hospitals. A lot of projects comes to us which are ad hoc, require specific integrations, require specific tech, skills for certain programming language and sort of stuff, which might not be present in my organization for a case. The moment you have the B2B client aligned to your proposal, they would like you to go fast, quick in a way. So there is an entry barrier for these people if not available in the talent pool. And that's where the gig force come into the picture a large way. And they really make my project go live in no time. Right? I think that's the benefit which is both sides, both for the organizations as well as for the gig workers. And definitely they bring in that cost efficiency and operational efficiency to a greater extent, while the people are not there onboarded for the full kind of scale.
So to add to what my colleague said, hire and fire is not only for the company. The gig worker can also hire and fire the company.
It's vice versa.
But hire and fire sort of has very negative connotation to it. You don't want to be hired and then fired. So what are some ethical...
I not use that hire and fire. What I said is that the 2020 code is saying that you can hire, if he is not performing, so you can ask him to leave. So in other words, you can fire him. So that is hire and fire. Otherwise, the code is specifically saying that without any giving notice, without any doing anything, just give a one notice or something and you ask him to leave. I am not saying this. The labor code is saying.
So
the day it will get implemented.
Yeah.
So definitely the company will get more power to recruit and to retain and to retrench also.
Which is why we must have a conversation around the ethical practices also. How can we shield these workers enough that they feel protected and do their job? Because hire and fire, even the government may put that in a document, that still means you can be hired and then fired the next day. What are the what are some of the things that companies can do to bring in the ethical and the job security and ethical practices?
If a person is skilled and he is having the knowledge, he is the value for the company, so definitely his job is secured. If he is a pain for the company will not tolerate that. The reason is company has to perform. The workman, employee has to perform. If he is not performing, why company will hire him? Why company will retain him? That's why I use the three words, if you have heard. Recruit, retain and retrench. Retain to whom? Who are the value for the company. They are performing well. They are doing their duties. You people have a maid at a home, some domestic servant. If he is not performing, how long you people are asking him to retain? Not retaining, right? Change kar do yaar, मम्मी वो काम नहीं करती, वो सफाई नहीं कर रही, change him. Every day this is happening. So everybody has to perform. His own performance will make sure that he is an asset for the company. If he is not performing, company will not retain him. If he is performing, company will retain him. I am talking about the gig worker, not about the permanent. Permanent to perform kare na kare, then you have to follow labor laws to retain him.
I think couple of other dimensions to be looked at here would be, transparency. So for example, there is a government portal, eShram portal, wherein all people who are working as gig workers are supposed to go and register to get the benefits that the gig economy kind of offers. There are not many benefits, but whatever they are, you have to kind of register in the portal. Second part is, especially in the case of platforms like Ola, Uber, and maybe Swiggy, Zomato, there's something called algorithm transparency, which government, if not asking for it right now, is going to look into, like how are the orders assigned, are the working practices safe enough for the people to work, or are they really working in really sad situations? So that transparency of data has to also come from corporates to make sure that this is a level playing field for the gig workers. Otherwise, it won't be, unfair to assume that they are being exploited.
But nowadays, as you said, gig worker can go on a e-service portal and can get registered there. Some of government is also doing something for the gig worker. Like Rajasthan government has made some ruling in Rajasthan. If a gig worker is there, he is entitled for certain medical benefit and certain other benefit. Karnataka government also made something. But still we are waiting to other government also to do something. One other thing, if companies want to give benefit to the gig worker, they can go under the Employee Compensation Act. In that act, if say suppose he met with some fatal accident or something, so his family may get some benefit. So these are the things.
So to add to what my colleague said, laws of the land have enough regulations in place to protect the gig workers. It is just about creating an awareness and knowledge of those laws in the relevant workforce, be it a part-time worker or be it a contractual employee of a company. If you just think about a film star having a contractual agreement with a production house, they spend lakhs and lakhs on those agreements itself. So if a gig worker is focused enough to have that contractual agreement in place, his personal rights will be taken care by the laws of the land. I feel that looking at gig economy at only the frontline workforce is somewhere we are missing the point as a broad context. Anything which is not being done by the full-time workforce can be a very high value job also, is also part of a gig economy, a larger gig economy. So you just have to focus on what kind of agreement you are getting in with your employer. That's how I would look at the ethics which you talked about. So every organization also has a broad role to play. If I'm hiring an agency and that agency is helping me hire 100 gig workers, we have to make sure as a company that we ask the agency to provide all the entitlements which as a gig worker they are entitled to have, be it ESI, be it Provident Fund or any other statutory bonuses.
I'll add one thing what he said. The moment gig worker enter in your premises is entitled for the same benefit I'm talking, as your regular workmen are entitled. Act says, law says. He well said, okay, there are certain laws, they protect their services. The moment he entered in your premises, he entered in your role, whether the direct or the indirect. Direct is a regular worker, he is not a gig worker. Indirect contractor, he is entitled for the all benefit, inclusive of the, but what benefit regular people are getting, he is entitled for the same benefit. This act says.
I'd like to add one opinion of mine. Like you saw both sides, right? One is a specialized services which you become after few years of experience, and second is the Ola and Ubers of the world, that is a gig. Now you as an audience here don't fit into anyone. Now what is your starting point, right? One is that you are maybe first year, second year, 2 years of experience, and you are most of them are fresh graduates. So what is our starting point? We are not specialized, neither we don't want to do delivery jobs, right? My suggestion is to introspect a little and understand two forces here. One, what is that? What area of expertise that I can naturally do well in a long time, and how sustainable they are, how vulnerable they are to future technologies, and how sustainably I can continue for years. And you keep building on that. Give you initially few years of your experimentation, because you need to know between A and B what is that I'm good at, and then maybe build on that. But obviously the post is to be very committed to skills. That is going to be a more, sustainable for you a lot. Thank you.
Which brings me to the next question. Do you want to say something? Yeah.
I know some of my colleagues, daughter and son, they just passed from some colleges, I'm not going to name that. Why you are not joining some job? Bolani, uncle, we will do as a freelancer. And they are doing job, they are earning a lot. So don't expect you'll regular job only. Think about that also, what he said. Make your clear vision where to go or how to go.
I would like to add to that. Being a freelancer also gives you an opportunity to explore companies and their environment. So with that sort of experience, if you gain that experience for 1 or 2 years or 3 years, you will get to know about the market. I'm not against the placements. I mean, of course, you can go and stay in a company, you can start your job with one firm and stay there for 4 or 5 years and learn as much you can. I still believe you will learn more over there rather than working as a freelancer. But yeah, that opens up the gate for you to experiment with your work. I mean, if you're even from a creative field or from any other advanced field, that really helps you a lot.
So we can continue our conversation, Rohit, because this next question, you talked about creativity and you talked about advanced skill set. Where is the place for innovation, creativity, design thinking, more highly skilled people? How can we integrate them into gig economy and what can we do there?
As all of us know, the technology is going to play a huge role going forward. And with the help of virtual reality, augmented reality, and AI being in the market, and all of us are using it nowadays for a lot of our purposes, we also use it. Earlier, if you see, with all of this restricted areas, we did not have a lot to explore with. Now, rural urban development plays a huge role in this because there's more potential in tier 2 and tier 3 cities rather than tier 1, because all of us live in metro, so we feel okay, this is how it is. But there is a humongous talent around in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, where the technology help all of us to connect with them, to explore their talent and get an opportunity to work with those people. For example, today, whatever you used to order online, there were certain limitations to that. Now with more workforce being introduced to it, you get to know about more talents. And I think the important role between the basically a tie-up between human and AI. While you're working towards your goals, you also need to be taken care of one thing, that you brush up your skills in terms of technicalities. And with these facilities like smart work offices these days, you have co-works, you have hybrid models, that is also going to help you to improve.
So innovation and creativity, that's the question I think you posed for the panelists here. Every mind is a unique mind in itself, I think like that. The idea which is there in your mind may not be there anywhere else. And that is going to be nurtured by you, only you. It is just about knowing what is around and what is not. So a gig work, I would not want to call it a gig work, but innovation and creativity is visible in so many places around the world. Look at the most successful examples across the universe of business. What are they? They are innovation and creativity. And they started off at a very, very nascent small level, and they developed into multi-million ideas. So that is where the concept of innovation and creativity for any individual exists. Your brain is unique to you only. Nobody else can have that.
This next question, is for Mohit. It's about company culture. So let me elaborate on what I mean by that. We've been talking about gig economy and gig workers. What we mean is they're short-term, employed at a short term. That could mean contract, that could mean ad hoc, or that could simply mean project-based. Now, how does that impact a company's culture? Now, culture is a very important part of any company, and you would like it a certain way. You don't want anybody to challenge it or change it. Now, how can we incorporate these people within the company culture? And is it dangerous to do that for a company, incorporate them into company culture?
Specifically not. I would like to respond to that. It's an interesting question. One is obviously, when you talk about culture, right, the larger stand has to be taken by an organization. Do you want to be skill first or people first? We all see in examples of people first organization, right, Tata and all. We don't have to elaborate too much on that. He knows, everybody knows. So they're people first organization. So for them transitioning between a gig to full-time and back to gig is going to be much smoother because they are people-centered, isn't it? So I know a lot of people who worked in Tata. One of our largest clients is Tata. So they have something called as a mobility center. You would have named it differently, but they prefer mobilizing people internally for different roles across different modes of employment, be it part-time, be it full-time. But the objective is to retain them. isn't it? And this is where culture comes in. If your objective is to work people-centric, you will continue to do everything to retain them and provide them value, so they in turn provide value to others. Yeah? So
as you said, Tata, of course, the ITC is also doing the same thing. We also try to retain the people. We are also mobilizing from here to here. We just recently closed our Wills Lifestyle. Wills was ours. Wills Lifestyle, Wills was ours. And John Player, that was ITC owned company. We trained those people from clothing to train in a hotel, and now they are working as a front office manager and a housekeeping staff. So these are the things. Gig worker, again, I am coming to the key, whether they are the question was? Ethics.
Culture.
You have to train them. We are also hiring gig workers, and they are catering to the high profile elite class members. They are coming to play golf. Golf are coming, maximum the directors of the companies, big Korean, big Japanese, big industrialists or the big businessmen, elite class ISP, CS, elite, high profile people. To cater those, we can't put any Tom, Dick, Harry, go and cater him. 4 hours you work with him, assist him in a golf. So what we are doing, we are training them. We are giving them training. We are converting them raw to a skill. When they got a skill, they are assets for the company. They are not harming to the environment. These are the things.
I'll just build a few thoughts around it. So what we are trying to say over here is there is a company culture, and there are people who come and work for a company, maybe for a short term, part-time, gig work, not gig work, regular work. How they harness the culture, how they contribute to the overall culture ecosystem. I think that's a two-way phenomena, right? There is always a word called cultural fitment. Whenever you join an organization, you always look to whether I fit to work for this company, whether this company is fit to work for me, right? This depends, what is the kind of ecosystem a company is driving. Like, he already mentioned Tata's are people-centric. We have a Tata Code of Conduct, which talks about equality between a regular work and a contracted workforce. Be it induction, be it OJT, on-job trainings, be it the hand-holding of these people, be it their annual, financial management, be it the health care delivery for them, pre-employment medical examination, regular annual health checkups. They are all been equated whether the person is full-time employed or a contractual employment. And these all talks about an organizational viewpoint to the culture. While an organization is there to offer you a cultural aspect, it's also equally important for a gig worker to be adhering to the cultural aspect to the organization. So it's always a mutual symbiotic relationship, right? That's where I will sort of absolutely.
So as long as we build a culture of competence, right, it will not matter if it's a full-time or a part-time. That's what I think. The culture of competence, the culture of outcome, culture of freedom,
There is a famous quote, whether the regular or gig worker, that's a separate issue. You take care of your employee, they will take care of your company. So that's a hardly matter if he's a gig worker or the regular worker. He came for the 4 hour, or he is for 8 hour. You take care of him. There is many ways to take care of him. So definitely, when you will take care, definitely they will also realize what is the company culture, and they will obey that.
So the ownership of carrying the culture of an organization to direct or indirect workforce depends entirely on the organization. And like all my colleagues echo the same sentiment, I am also of the same view. Culture is always human-centric, and it is also inherited. We inherit a culture from our senior generations. Similarly, employees also inherit that culture from organizations. Today, an employee may be working in an organization which had a very, very good culture, and they have implemented it for their own workforce and the additional workforce. And that person happens to move to a next organization, which may not be that culturally rich, but that person has inherited that culture from that original organization. So that as a leader, it is his responsibility. And to inherit that culture and implement that culture in his capacity in the new organization as well, which can benefit at large even a larger workforce, direct or indirect again. So that is how your cultural strengths will help you grow yourself.
Vineet sir, this next question is for you. We have been talking about culture, it's such a long-lasting concept. Another important part of a company's strategy. Where is it that you want your company to be? Now, how can we integrate gig workers sustainably into a company's strategy so that they become a solid part of the direction in which your company is moving?
So going forward into the future, as I just spoke earlier about it, gig will be a very important part of the workforce strategy for all organizations. One, it offers the flexibility to hire and scale when you need. Obviously, there are cost optimization advantages. So depending upon what your organization main core line of business is, you will have a certain percentage of people coming as part of gig. There will be hardly any organizations probably in the future where you will not have or probably have a zero representation of gig. Now, where you are currently and where you will be 10 years down the line depends upon what business industry you are in. Earlier we were talking about like education currently have just 1% representation, and retail and manufacturing or maybe construction have very high percentage of gig workers contribution. So entirely this is a function of which industry you are in, how ready you are to scale, full-time versus part-time versus contractors versus gig workers, what kind of workforce contribution mix you are ready to contribute and scale your organization with. I think those will be very, very vital in terms of shaping the organizational strategy.
So just to add a little bit of practical flavor to it, so we always create what we call as AOP, annual operating plans, right? So every financial year prior to that, we create a next year plan. And from the last year itself, we have in our annual operating plan when we are creating the workforce mix, as you mentioned, based on the new businesses we want to acquire, the scale up of existing businesses, maturation stage and all those stuff, we always plan for the workforce also. And in our AOP now, there is a statement about what is going to be a full-time force, what is going to be a part-time project base, which is equivalent to a gig force, and what is the contribution mix based on the budget allocation from a cost point of view also and from a number point of view. So that already has started to get incorporated into the AOPs of the world. I see that shift has happened.
As a strategy for my organization, because I am running a sales organization, I don't see any difference in my full-time salesperson or a gig employee who's working for me in the field as a salesperson. To put on record, about 20% of my non-permanent sales force is drawing more money than my full-time workforce. And as a strategy, as a company, I have decided to grow my indirect workforce at least 4 times in the next 2-3 years. Maybe we may not be able to grow our fixed employees to not more than about double, but then indirect employees will grow by 4 times. That is as a strategy, how it is going to add to the gig economy.
So when a company makes a strategy going forward, there is an importance of a gig worker over there is because hiring somebody is adding on more to the infrastructure. Okay, I mean there are a lot of organizations, hiring one person adds on a lot of investment in the company, whereas a freelancer, when they come on board, and it helps us going forward also, we can plan like, so instead of hiring 10 people every year or 20 people every year, we can actually go with 3 as a permanent employee and 7 as a freelancer, which can come and go. And they also, if you stay with them for a longer period of time, they also adapt the company's culture and also bring in a lot of additional value to the organization. And it saves a lot of cost also in terms of infrastructure.
Pankaj, you said something interesting. 20% of your non-permanent employees bring in more money than the
yeah,
how
they do.
Is that?
Actually, if you ask me, like it is related to the culture you build. we do not distinguish between our indirect or direct workforce. How we do that? Like we have WhatsApp groups for every state for all the sales employees of the company, similarly we have WhatsApp groups with our indirect workforce also. They are reporting into our mainstream workforce. They are motivated enough with the kind of sales incentive structure which we have built in for them also, which is based on the revenue they generate. So the kind of hard work they put in to generate sales, they get benefited. And to add to it, they get more benefit because an employee has a fixed structure of incentive. But a person who's not on my rolls, if he works harder and is able to scale up that sale maybe much more than what he was expected to do, his earnings are just going exponentially multiplying. So that is where I said that 20% of my indirect sales force is earning more money than my direct sales force. So here is a flip. The direct sales force somehow, like we were discussing earlier in our conversations, got into a mindset that on first there is going to be a salary credit in my account. That is the same for that indirect workforce also, but he knows that I am going to earn 3 times more than my salary through extra revenue which I bring for my organization. So we are promoting and encouraging that culture so that the indirect workforce is also, and we train them. We hold regular sessions on a 3-monthly or 6-monthly basis to give them product trainings, to give them sales trainings, so that they feel a part of the organization. They don't feel left out. They don't feel like indirect employees. They all have iCards, they all have uniforms, they have a attendance application. So diminish the line between indirect and direct workforce and you see the productivity increasing from that side of it. That's the strategy which we have adopted.
But there is one thing, I'll add that. One gig worker is a gig worker for the company, but for that you are taking the indirect worker. For that agency who is supplying the indirect workman to the company, for that agency he is a regular worker. For that he is not a gig worker. If that agency want to remove him, he has to take the same, he has to follow the same laws what company has to follow for their own regular employee. For me, I am OEM, I am running a company, and some third agency is supplying me the 100 contractor employee. For me, those 100 are the gig worker. But those 100 for that company are the regular worker. That is also, the law is a very different about the gig worker, and the labor law and laws is different about the workman. That's why I used earlier. The law is the same for every workman, every employee.
The laws of land protect each and every individual, whether it is
indirect
or direct.
After 2020 code implementation, the little bit difference is there, that will also get abolished. Wait if Modi ji succeed to implement that. That is the one thing. And making them the regular, putting in a regular role. The companies are doing good skill work. As I said, that you have to perform. If you are a good worker, company will definitely retain you.
So the future may be unpredictable, but as the time progresses, the line between gig and permanent is foreseen to diminish. That is what is foreseen.
We are now moving towards the closing of the session, but I do have a few questions left. Lalit, this one is for you. We have been speaking of gig workers, and we have been assuming that a gig worker is a man. More often than not, we have so much talent that is going wasted, that is unused in women who either cannot be part of regular work, choose not to be part of regular work, but still want to work. Now, gig work is a fantastic opportunity for them. How can we make sure that we are not leaving them behind? People of other genders or people of other sect who are not traditionally, a classic worker. How can we include those?
Excellent one, and I think that's where lies the biggest potential of the gig workforce, right? We could hear some stats out, 80% of the women workforce who are trainable, skilled enough to perform some technical, non-technical tasks are unemployed or not employed. And that's where the gig workforce poses a lot of talent pool readily available to get the things done on ground. I think that's more around the mind shift change we've been talking about, and having that line diminished, between the regular worker and a gig worker, understandably so that the fear of being a gig, and I think the question started from the audience itself, how many of you want to work as a gig worker? If that anxiety or fear is diminished and you understand by virtue of organizational preview and the policies across and the regulatory and compliance point of view, I guess that's where the 7 trillion dream can come true, if that fear is being taken out. A lot of gender biasness which comes across when employments are there has to be taken care of. From organization point of view, from the policy point of view, and even from the workforce point of view, right? The benefits which are being provided to a regular work, like maternities, right? We do see the paternity leaves are also emerging now, right? And maternity is getting extended to a better benefit program, even for the alternate workforce. And that's where I think the companies has to evolve and think of these as the people equal or equated or even better off than the regular workforce as you delivered and being, delivering that culture upon. I think that's the biggest of opportunity we are sitting across. If we have to hit that 7 trillion, that has to break.
I'll add one thing. In service industry, there is no biasness, no gender biasness. You go to the service industry, in the medical industry, in the hotel industry, there is no gender biasness, whether the gig worker or the regular worker. Paternity leaves, we implemented as ITC. We are giving that leave to the father also. Maternity, getting through the act, but paternity we given. We made some flexibility. 10 days working from home allowed, even now. All managers. So now the gender biasness is almost in service industry I've never seen. In automotive sector, in other sector, some area there is some way we can't hire the females. They can't perform like the man is performing. But in service industry, since last 17, 18 years I'm in service industry, I've seen in ITC entire hotel group, even a Tata hotel group, I've not seen any biasness. Whether the gig worker, third party worker, contract worker or the regular employment. Almost they are getting the same benefit, same treatment, same environment. That is.
I'll just add another very practical use case of the gender stuff. We have a fleet of almost 800 plus phlebotomists, the guys who come your home, collect blood samples, right? Our gender distribution is 10:90, right? We did a survey and we did find we are missing on a lot of opportunities where there are collections to be done on the female patients and they don't prefer a male phlebotomist to come and approach them, right? And this survey came out, if our fleet has a ratio of more than 30:70 even, my business potential actually go twice.
It's a very interesting,
Just
which we never thought of actually with respect to healthcare. So gender diversity inclusion is a very talked about subject for a few years now. I see many organizations have implemented this practice of mandatory minimum percentage of workforce. Some have a higher percentage, some have a lower percentage, but then that inclusion is happening and transition is happening very rapidly. I don't see there is a difference between a boy or a girl when we are hiring an employee. I myself have about 25% sales force which are females right now. Lesser females are opting for this field. That is, we cannot control that. With respect to gig economy, how gender diversity works, I think it's a great advantage for the workforce which is not wanting to be full-time outside or on somebody's role, and mostly importantly for women, being at the comfort of their own choice of workplace they can actively contribute to the main economy or main company's ecosystem. That is where gig economy is majorly contributing to the diversity of any organization or any support system or any ecosystem, I would call.
एक अपने आईटीसी का प्रोग्राम देखा होगा जो मध्य प्रदेश में चला रहे हैं लोग, दे आर रूरल एरिया में, दे आर engaging lot of females to do some small scale work on a project basis, like sarbati atta they are making from. So we are not having any difference. We are taking through the third party. Even I'll let you know one thing. We are having some deaf employee also. They can't speak, they can't listen. They are just, they talk in their own language. We are having, go to any hotel, you'll find on reception, on a front office, you'll find some, he can't hear, he or she can't hear or can't speak, but you can't find. We train them. So now the gender biasness, I don't think so. In service industry, I have seen.
Few people are taking, I have seen Lemon Tree chain of hotels, they employ a lot of people who are deaf and they cannot hear also and they cannot speak also, and they are servicing their customers. Yeah, so I saw it at...
There is a policy to have minimum such workforce, minimum. So this is Lemon Tree, I'm sure, and I think
an add-on to
IT can also there's a gig economy.
Yes, there is no policy.
But in Lemon Tree there is a policy.
Internally they made some policy. Internally they might have some policy, but as per the act there is no policy.
It's not for the act, it's for the
internal
company
policy.
Internal policy there. I'm talking about the ITC. Lemon Tree I don't know, but ITC we are having. You go to any, we are having the lot of hotels in Delhi. Moray is in Delhi, Saket mein you have Sheraton. You go to the Grand Bharat, it's the biggest in, we claim it's a best one in India. And you'll find on a front office, you'll find some deaf and females. So there is no difference. And they are getting the question was the gender biasness. So there is no gender biasness in service industry.
That's great to hear. That,
the thoughts are changing very rapidly. I would not say it's not there, but the thoughts are very rapidly changing across the industries.
And that's probably thanks to the gig economy, because now you have access to so much without the dangers of, and without the biasness of exactly dealing with those problems. Now I would close the session, and to close the session, I think a great recap would be to remind all of you of the potential you have, of what you are capable of, and not limit yourself to a certain kind of employment, but keep your minds open, eyes open, your skill set open, and be ready to learn, because $7 trillion economy, yes, it's a statement out there where we have to reach there in the future, but to do that, all of you must prepare yourself to delve into that learning mode and training mode and retraining mode, so that, and you become confident enough that you are capable of all of that, and contribute to the economy, as much as you possibly can as an employee, gig or not. That would be. Thank you so much, all of you, for being a part of this panel. It was fantastic having the chat with you, and some reassurance also to the students that their opportunities are not hard to come by anymore. They look different.
You develop your skill.
Yeah.
First, focus on your skill only. Opportunity will come. Whether the direct or indirect, that's a metal thing. Whether gig or direct, that's a metal thing. When you will develop your skill, opportunity will come. That I can assure you. So focus on your skill. Focus on your dream. That I have to achieve. Make some path how I'll achieve. Definitely that will come to you. And as I said, if labor code got implemented, then there will be no difference between gig and direct. So don't get scared with the gig. Develop your skill only. Thank you.
I'm sure all of you are wondering why we are all talking about encouraging gig work. No, we are not doing that. Everybody is entitled to get a very good first job. All of you will, definitely. But then that does not end here. Everybody, a few of them may not get that lucky that they end up a very good job on the first day of your recruitment drive. But that does not limit your potential. That does not put any kind of restriction to what you can do. See, if you just look at any successful person's history, where he started from, maybe he was doing nothing for the first 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 years of his life. He was doing nothing, but nobody looks at that, because we only look at what success that person has achieved in the lifetime of his. Without groundwork and hard work, which starts from day one as soon as you graduate from college and enter the real life, it is only and only your perseverance, feet on ground, knowledge of the market, and the expertise which you possess in yourself, which is very important for each individual to identify. What is my skill set? What am I good at? There are no limitations in this world. I can tell you that. Thank you guys. Thanks for having us.
I'll give one example what you said. I'll take my example. I was a student leader from Meerut College, Meerut. I was fully involved in student politics. I was local vice president in 87. That time I was the last student. I got married, early married during the law only. My wife was doing the law, that time she was. To earn something, I started Thekadari contractor, civil contract in Ghaziabad. 4 years I did that, but that was not my forte. Then I started work as an accountant. 3 years I worked as an accountant. I thought it's also not going to make my career. My skill is a little different. I got opportunity in industrial relation, to handling the union, negotiating with the union, developing your negotiation with the, dealing with the government. I made that career, and today I achieved that, where I am. Just because of industrial relation. I thought that this is the right skill where I can develop my, right area where I can use my skill. First you see where you have to reach, what is it, that's why I said, no, develop your skill only and choose your area.
Just 2 words I'll add while we talk about the attributes of the personality, whether it's a gig worker or a regular worker. 2 Hindi के शब्द हैं, कर्तव्य और अधिकार. You must know these things, right? These will keep on evolving, but you must be updated about it.
अब सबने मोटिवेशनल ज्ञान दे दिया है तो 2 शब्द मैं भी बोलूँगा. डिग्रियाँ तो तालीम के खर्चे की रसीदें हैं दोस्तों. इल्म वही है जो किरदार में झलकता है. सो डू वेल.
Well, I think that would be a fantastic closing remark. we should not spoil that, because that is the perfect mood to close us. Thank you all of you for being a part of this panel, for your insights and experiences. It was great to have a chat with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are lucky we have some time for your questions. So if you do have questions, we have people here who can answer. Do we have any?
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, I have a quick question. How do you feel rising demand of work-life balance is influencing people's mind to choose gig work lifestyle over traditional work lifestyle?
I think this is mostly your individual choice. When I look at you, let's say you're just going to about to start your career. I think you have not even gone ahead and worked, and therefore to consider work-life balance, right? So it's primarily about individual choices. There are people who slog and they are still okay with it because they just love and do work for the love of it. And then there are people who will also crib in 9 to 5. Oh my God, I have to spend 8 hours at work.
It's a very personal thing. Work-life balance is all what you want for yourself. It's not that if you are in a full-time job, you cannot have work-life balance. I'm just not focusing just on the gig work. I'm saying work-life balance is not something which you cannot achieve anywhere in your life. It's all about your mindset. Today, most of the organizations are focused only on the productivity and output of work. I am not interested what you are doing between 10 to 6 in the morning to evening. I am interested in what job I have given to you. Please do that job, whether you do it in 2 days or 4 days. That is how I look at it. So my work-life balance is in my hands. It's not in my company's hands. If I have decided I will not look at my phone after 7 o'clock or before 10 o'clock in the morning, that's my choice. I have it in my control. So we cannot leave our work-life balance at the hands of our employers or maybe our contractual agreement which we have. Anybody giving you a contract would only want the work to be done. How you're doing it, how much time you're putting in it, does not matter. So a work-life balance is same for both the fields, be it a gig work or a full-time work.
Some companies like ITC, we hire people to work, not to complete the hours.
That's what I said. Exactly.
You complete your work in 3 hours. You can go and play a game. We are allowed to play thrice in a week golf, and golf take almost 4.5 hours. Why we are allowed? If we are not completing our work, definitely a whole week we have to work only. We can't go कि नहीं काम भी नहीं करेंगे और खेलेंगे. So
if you have an incomplete job at hand, that is where you will feel insecure about your work-life balance. If you have completed your job already and you are ahead of your work schedule, you will never have that fear of work-life balance. Your work is complete, your life is balanced.
And I given one example that depend on you whether you want to be a gig worker or the regular worker, regular employee. I give an example, one of some of my friends, son and daughter, they don't want to work as an employee. They are saying, we'll work as a consultant, we'll work as a... They are drafting for a big lawyers. I can name Abhishek Manu Singhvi, they are drafting for them. Abhishek Manu Singhvi is not drafting all writ petition himself. He is giving to the people and they are drafting and then he is correcting and putting before the court. And they are charging hell of amount. For a one draft, they charge 3, 4 lakh. And Abhishek Manu Singhvi is charging almost 5 lakh per hearing. So that depends on you.
Any more questions?
Do we have any more questions? I don't. You.
Thank you for this session. My question is that which skill development program for gig workers, especially inactive job seekers, have you seen to be the most effective?
Government has just implemented a NAPS also, for the boat also, for gig workers, development programs. NAPS, they are having the 3-year program, they are giving some stipend also, I think some 1,500 something, and companies also giving some. Boat also, they are hiring some diploma holders and some engineers, they are developing those people. So government is doing something.
Skill development is a very unique thing to each organization. Every organization will look at it differently. And even for the gig workforce, if my objective is clear that I have to get this kind of output from this workforce, I am going to implement certain programs and certain skill development programs which train my workforce, my gig workforce, so that they are able to effectively deliver on the task which has been identified by me for them. So it's a very vast subject, and every organization will have their own, other than the government I would say, every organization has their own skill development programs in-house for gig workers also.
Mr. Mohit was having some work, that's why he left. He's having some assignment, that's why he leaked.
Any more? Okay, great. So if no more questions, then we close this session here. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Sir, just a minute, sir. On behalf of everyone present here, I would like to express a heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed speakers. Now, I would request our moderator, Dr. Swati Tripathi, to felicitate Dr. Lalit Kanodia. Mr. Vineet Tandon. Mr. Pradeep Singh. Mr. Rohit Kapoor. Mr. Pankaj Java. And our last speaker, Mr. Mohit Chavan. Now, I would request our secretary to extend a sincere thanks to our moderator, Professor Dr. Swati Tripathi, for guiding us through our enriching conversation.
Some key takeaways from the discussion include: the gig economy is a rapidly growing sector that offers significantly flexibility for both workers and companies. It allows workers to explore diverse roles and develop new skills through project-based work, while providing companies with a cost-effective, on-demand workforce. This model fosters innovation, creativity, and cultural evolution within organizations and supports rural-urban development by creating opportunities across regions. However, for this system to be truly effective, both companies and workers must embrace a more adaptable, ethical, and non-traditional approach to work. Recruit, retain, and retrain are essential strategies that companies should prioritize while also adhering to relevant labor laws. While talent may sometimes be underutilized, leveraging new technologies such as workforce evolution tools and AI can help optimize these resources, ensuring mutual benefits for both employers and workers.
I would request a moderator to also felicitate Mr. Sanjeev Kumar. This concludes the Gig Economy Growth Summit. We hope that today's session has offered valuable insights into how gig work can empower India's workforce and can contribute to its 7 trillion ambition.
We extend our heartfelt gratitude to the title sponsor NHPC, a Navratna company. We would like to play a short video. We would also like to thank our investor education partner UTI Mutual Fund, our print media partner Business Standard, sports shoe partner Ebros Playbook, our sponsor Phoenix Global, our co-sponsor RG Sanjeev Goenka Group, our entertainment partner White Heaven, our event sponsor AtSat, radio partner Red FM 93.5, valued sponsor Havish M Consulting, valued sponsor Key Properties, our athleisure partner Decathlon, bath and kitchen partner Radon, animal welfare partner PETA India, and sustainable hydration partner PIU, and our summit sponsor Bank of Baroda. We would now like to invite our panelist, moderator, and team members to join us on stage for a group photograph.
Thank you to the moderator and all the speakers.